MMOs and grinding have always been synonymous. Often you would have completed a single player game before you even reach level cap in an MMO, or have started on any proper endgame content. This genre of game above all others is known for people who put in crazy hours to achieve things that the average player would never dream of. The grind and long-term progression of living and breathing MMO worlds is something that always keeps fans of the genre coming back, and alongside major updates it gives these games such timelessness. World of Warcraft, though, comparatively has often been a bit more on the tame side of things when it comes to the grind, believe it or not. When it first released, it was seen as a more casual friendly option on the MMO market, since it didn't have XP penalties for having your character die, and the journey from 1 to 60 in vanilla has always seemed long, but as time has progressed it's become more and more efficient and trimmed down. However, that doesn't mean World of Warcraft in its own way hasn't come up with some of the largest grinds you'll find in an MMO, and this definitely isn't specific to Classic either. Though earlier versions of WoW were often seen as the slower paced ones, optional content and achievements have opened up a ton of space to create long-term goals that people can work towards. So today I wanted to go over what have to be 10 of the longest grinds Blizzard have ever put in World of Warcraft during the game's history. These can be from any expansion of World of Warcraft, and I'll go over what was involved in completing each of these actions and just why they took so long. So with that said, let's make a start. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Dragon Raja. Dragon Raja is a large-scale open-world MMORPG known for its excellent graphics, deep character customization, and high freedom in exploration and gameplay. And on August 21st, it's going to receive a major update packed with new features both for new and returning players. This update will introduce a brand new class, the Performer. This is a yo-yo wielding fighter with an agile and visually striking combat style. Players will also be able to take on the new dungeon, Expedition Everblaze, which is designed for 6 to 10 players and emphasizes strategic combat and teamwork. There'll be a new custom accessory system too that will allow you to design and equip personalized accessories, allowing your character to have a look which is unique to them. And during the event you can permanently claim one of 7 outfits for free through the outfit selection pack, and enjoy a special collaboration with Life Makeover featuring limited time outfits and themed vehicles. New servers will also launch alongside all of this, making it super new player friendly, so you can join in without worrying about too much gaps in progression. You can check out all this and tons more via the link below and get started in Dragon Raja today. Many thanks to Dragon Raja for the sponsor today. Let's get on back to WoW. I think we have to begin with a grind which has been found in a bunch of different expansions now, and that is the amount of time it can take to camp a rare world spawn. And these are often ones that drop a mount. The most famous example of this has to be the infamous rare spawn, the Time Lost Proto-Drake. You know, if you're ever after something rare or that's complicated to get, you go on Wowhead to find some more information, and you see the thing you're after has over 1,500 comments, you're going to be in for a serious challenge. The legendary Time Lost Proto-Drake is of course a rare spawn dragon that appears over the storm peaks of Northrend. I mean, its name includes Time Lost, so you should know this is going to take you a while. It is speculated to be somewhere on between an 8 to 24 hour respawn timer, with a bunch of possible respawn points across the entire zone. To complicate things further, another rare spawn dragon, Viragosa, also shares the same spawn timer with the TLPD, so you can sit there flying around spamming your macro hoping to see it, only to land on Viragosa instead, maybe even multiple times in a row. At least it gives you some idea on the next spawn timer, but after so much camping, it's not exactly what you want to see. This mount was the first of its kind of being a mega rare spawn out in the open world, and of course this one was introduced during Wrath of the Lich King when World of Warcraft had a ton of subscribers, which is why it holds such a place of prestige in so many people's minds, especially those who put in the time to go and farm it. It really is difficult though to put a number on how long this grind could take you, because you could just find the mount by accident when you're flying up to Ulduar, or you could be out there camping storm peaks for days on end before you see one. But at least once you do get the tag, the mount will always drop. Either way, I think rare spawn mounts, and especially the Time Lost Proto-Drake, have to have a place here. Next is an addition from Vanilla, the Alliance exclusive Winter Saber Trainers. This faction was really just some guy chilling on top of a rock in the middle of nowhere who would teach the players how to ride their very own Winter Spring Frost Saber. However, unlike the time lost Proto Drake, this grind wasn't random on how long it would take you. In fact, you could make a pretty good estimate in the total time invested, but you probably didn't want to do that because you'd start realizing how long you would be working on this for. You started out with 0 reputation and being neutral, of course, and your first quest was simply to collect some meat for the tigers. Each time you did this and turned in, it was a plus 50 reputation for you, and this quest would easily take some 10 minutes or so. These quests were of course repeatable, so you could just do them as many times as you wanted to. At 1500 rep, a new quest opened up where you had to defeat 10 furbolgs in Winterfall Village, a bit to the southeast. This place was always busy because of people farming echoes, firewater, and questing, so you could always find people to group up with, and people on the Frost Saber grind would quickly see familiar faces and just throw them invites automatically. This was faster than gathering the meat, though it could be annoying at peak times because again, this place was just always crowded. There was a third quest that you got to for this faction, which was at Honored, that had you go all the way to the south to kill some elite giants, but between getting there and riding back again, it was legitimately 15 minutes if not more, so ultimately this was never worth doing over just farming the furbolgs in Winterfall Village. This meant that really you just did the Winterfall Intrusion quest until Exalted, so from 1500 neutral to Exalted, you needed a further 40,500 reputation, which means you needed to do this repeatable quest 810 times. If we call it about 10 minutes or so on average per quest, that maths out to about a 135-hour grind once you are on this part of the quest. You could probably do it faster than that though, especially if you're human with their 10% bonus rep. Blizzard ended up changing this whole system completely in Cataclysm and made it into a bunch of dailies where you just did some tasks each day and then you got your mount after a few weeks instead of needing to do a repeatable quest 810 times, but having a Winter Spring Mountain Classic meant you had undergone a serious grind. Next is a pretty iconic title in the WoW universe, and one that's always been a mega big grind to get, and that is the Insane in the Membrane achievement for the Insane title. This is simply raising a number of obscure reputations to Exalted, which you wouldn't normally do because, I mean, there's no point doing it whatsoever. They were just kind of there to raise the bar to green. This achievement was added towards the start of Wrath of the Lich King in patch 3.1, and earning the Insane title in Wrath was harder than any subsequent expansion because it included an extra reputation which was removed in Cataclysm, Chandra. So originally the reputation requirements for the Insane were honoured with the Bloodsail Buccaneers, and then exalted with Booty Bay, Everlook, Gadgets and Ratchet, Ravenholt, Darkmoon Fair and Chandra. The tricky ones to do were the Bloodsail Buccaneers, Ravenholt and Chandra. Bloodsail Buccaneers would reduce reputation with the other goblin factions, and you had to farm tons of guards inside of Booty Bay to raise your rep from a negative standing up to honoured. Ravenholt was an infamous grind too. For them you had to pickpocket heavy junk boxes from level 55 plus NPCs in the world, and then hand them in 5 at a time for 75 reputation. There were a bunch of spots known for farming this, such as LBRS, or the Murlocs on the northern shore of the Isle of Quel'Danas. Chandra just really involves stockpiling a ton of mats, and the best reputation was a repeatable turn-in for quests for what used to be head enchants in vanilla. One example was the Librum of Focus that could be found in Dire Maul or bought on the auction house. You also needed a pristine black diamond, which was a rare world drop. Again, you just buy it, they're usually cheap, large brilliant shards from disenchanting, and 2 Skin of Shadow. Now the Skin of Shadow, and indeed one of the ingredients for each of these turn-ins, was non-tradable. In this instance they were from Scholarmans, but this was in Wrath, so you could probably farm some 6 or so Skin of Shadow per reset in no time at all, and you needed 84 turn-ins total to go from 0 to Exalted. Librums were also unique, so you had to send them to an alt, then mail them to the character that will be turning them all in one at a time, which was a bit annoying. There were portable mailboxes in Wrath of the Lich King from engineering though, so this wasn't nearly as bad as it sounds, it just took a bunch of time to gather all the materials. Back in early vanilla you got 200 rep per turn-in, not the 500 500 you got in Wrath from doing this quest, and you would have had to have run back to a mailbox in between each turn-in, which would have added about 10 minutes or so to the mailbox and back again. Either way, the Insane, still a very long grind to this day, and one that will keep you busy for a while. Next, we're heading forwards many expansions to Warlords of Draenor for the achievement, Warlord of Draenor. I mean, it's an achievement based off the expansion's name. You know this one's going to be pretty difficult. This achievement was earned through PvP, and a lot of it. To start, you had to build the Gladiator Sanctum in your garrison and upgrade it to level 3, at which point you'd get a quest to go kill a member of the opposite faction of a certain race. You do that, go turn it in, and the quest giver says, alright, nice, thanks for that, now go kill 500 more players of the same race. And you had to do this once for every single race of the opposite faction. So all in all, you had to defeat all 7 races 500 times total. That's 3,500 kills, which doesn't sound too bad, but the annoying part is that it has to be versus certain races. If you're doing 500 Blood Elves or humans, that's easy, but 500 Pandaren on either faction, yeah, that's going to be a bit more of a problem. People would set up boost runs for this achievement, as kills during a party would count for each player in their party, as in 1 kill could be 5 instead, which would massively speed up this step of the achievement. But after you had this step done, there was more to do as well in the Fight Kill Salute achievement. This needed you to defeat a further 100 players in the Highmoor Coliseum, or be the winner of a combat. After Warlords of Draenor, finding people for this step to actually begin is the hard part, but even during the expansion this would take some time. Again, people can boost this by queuing in with a minimum number of players and then having everyone but 1 player log out so that person auto wins, and then you just rotate until everyone's completed their quests. There were definitely some more creative or cheesy ways to do this achievement to make it way easier than it should have been, but if farming this the normal way via probably just sending Ashran and hoping for the best, this would have taken a seriously long time to complete. Either way, it's a cool title and not an easy one to end up getting however you do it. Now we have another title that was first introduced at the start of Wrath of the Lich King. This is for the achievement The Accomplished Angler, which awards the Salty title. Fishing's always one of those slower and more laid-back skills in games, and in World of Warcraft it's no different. To get this title, you basically had to complete every major fishing achievement that existed up until this point in time. The reason it could take so long is simply because so many of the achievements were just fish in a pool until you get lucky and catch the thing you're after. Some of the harder ones to find could be Mr. Pinchy from the pools in Terakar Forest, winning the Stranglethorn Vale fishing event, and finding all the coins in the pool in Dalaran. I guess it was very fitting that the big fishing achievement needed a ton of patience, but entirely depending on your luck, this one again could be relatively fast or take you a lot of farming over several weeks on and off. Next up, we can't have a list of the biggest grinds in this game without including rank 14 in vanilla World of Warcraft. By now, a good amount of people have attempted ranking themselves and seen what it involves, so I think the appreciation of what goes into this grind will be more than what it used to be. Most importantly though is that we take into account how the grind used to be, not how it is today, because on Anniversary Realms, rank 14 is significantly easier than it typically is, even if it is still a long grind. So let me give you a real brief rundown of the ranking system. To progress PvP ranks in vanilla, you have to earn honor. At the end of each week, your honor earned is calculated versus all other participants in the PvP pool for your faction on your realm. You're then awarded ranking points based upon how high of a percentage you were for honor earned in the last week. These ranking points progress your rank. However, you decay 20% of your ranking points each week, so as you progress it gets much more difficult to keep ranking up, and you can't stop or you'll basically lose all your progression. And since ranking points earned are based off how high you are as a percentage of the total PvP player base, as you approach the higher ranks you must be among the top honor earners for that week, or your decay will be higher than your potential ranking points. At one point to hit rank 14 you had to be within the top 0.1% of players on your realm for 2 weeks in a row. Did you know in Classic we actually played the easier version of ranking where this was extended to the top 0.2% of players instead. This is all quite a lot of words because this system is incredibly convoluted and is completely insane that they went through with this at all. But this will be easily 3 months or so of 16-hour days grinding PvP for rank 14 with no possibility of stopping once you've started, otherwise your progression would basically be reset within the space of a few weeks. Out of every grind on this list, the inability to stop and come back to rank 14 arguably makes it one of the toughest to see all the way through, and it's pretty easy to see why Blizzard changed this whole system in TBC as well. Next up, I have a bit of a different one for you because most of these grinds have a real point to them. They award something that's dev intended within the game. This one, however, is purely because you want to see your reputation bars filled up. So you know the insane that we talked about earlier required honored with the Bloodsail Buccaneers, as in Blizzard did not expect you to go any further than this. Well, what if I told you that in fact you could go further than honored with the Bloodsail Buccaneers in vanilla? In fact, if you really wanted to, you could go all the way to Exalted, but the way you had to do it was, well, beyond insane. There have been a few players who have documented their journey of doing this. There is an NPC in Badlands called Jazric who gives repeatable reputation with the Bloodsail Buccaneers. He's on a respawn time of about 7 minutes and has to be killed some 4,200 times to gain enough reputation to be able to hit Exalted, meaning according to a player who's undergone this grind, you can spend some 490 hours or just over 20 days played in total waiting for this one guy to respawn. There is no in-game reward for doing this, of course. This is purely because you want to have completed everything possible, and you need a crazy level of dedication to see this grind through. In fact, this grind alone makes the regular insane achievement look, well, pretty sane actually. We're into top 3 territory now, so these are definitely some of the longest grinds this game has ever had to offer. At number 3 is the Bloodthirsty title. This was added at the start of Cataclysm, and Wowhead shows that about 1% of profiles have earned this. In theory, this is very simple to do. Just get 250,000 honorable kills. It really is that simple, not much more to say. Realistically, this is such an unreasonably long grind that you'll just work towards it passively whilst doing other PvP meta achievements or PvPing in general. Hopefully you're not actively counting each kill, because doing something 250,000 times and keeping track of it sounds like a sure way to go crazy. I had to check my own account to see how far I'd gotten on this one, as I know I did a lot of PvP back in the day and I only made it up to a mere 172,000 kills. Bit of a casual, I guess, but all I did in this game was PvP between vanilla and Wrath, and I'm not even sure when those kills started counting, to be fair. Either way, that should give you some idea of how much 250,000 kills actually is. It's a long-term goal that you'll get eventually whilst you're doing other things, but it has to be one of the longest grinds in this game. And number 2 is the meta PvP pet battle achievement to earn the title Trainer. This is earned from winning 1,000 pet battles with a full team of level 25 pets. I had to go and check myself personally because I know I did a bunch of pet battles in MOP and I got just under the 300 mark by the looks of it. I remember doing this and I got bored of going versus the same meta comps all the time. Keep in mind, this wasn't just playing 1,000 PvP pet battles, it's winning them, which makes it significantly harder. In fact, on Wowhead, with rounding, this achievement is shown as being earned by 0% of profiles, meaning under 0.5% of the player base have earned this title, and it was added into the game over a decade ago. Now of course, PvP pet battles is a bit of a niche within a niche, meaning not that many people are going to be going for it in the first place, but nevertheless, 1,000 PvP pet battle wins is going to take you an extreme amount of time. Of course though, as is often the case with PvP and matchmaking, some people do look to spam Q at off-peak times to try and win trade, but even still, this title is still super rare to see to this day in World of Warcraft. As such, Trainer is easily one of the toughest grinds you can do, which means at number 1 we have another PvP related achievement for the Khan title. This is a meta achievement that was added for having completed all achievements for all the battlegrounds added between Wrath of the Lich King and Mists of Pandaria. Similar to Trainer, this one was added in during Mists of Pandaria, and similar to Trainer, this has also been obtained by a 0% of profiles rounded down according to Wowhead, which puts it up there as one of the rarest titles and hardest grinds in the game. This one will simply involve playing a crazy amount of each battleground, chasing each of the achievements that needed to be done. Not only does each battleground have its own set of achievements which can be difficult in their own right, but you need to have won each one 100 times as well. This one will be a grind that will, without exaggeration, take you months, if not well over a year of working towards, as you gradually chip away at each of the requirements for this meta achievement. PvP achievements are always tricky due to the competitive nature of battlegrounds and arena, so it makes sense that we're seeing some of the longest grinds in the game tied to this area of content. But that's it, those are 10 of what I think are the longest grinds in World of Warcraft history. Let me know if you've done any of these feats within the game. How was it for you? Are you still working towards them perhaps, or are there any other grinds which you think would have been worth a mention here? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.